everybody, welcome back to our channel, We're the Movie Couple. I'm Wendy.
I'm Dustin.
And here's our non-spoiler review for Gemini Man. Gemini Man is directed by Ang Lee and stars Will Smith, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Benedict Wong, and Clive Owan. A hitman who is about to retire is targeted by a younger hitman who seems to be able to predict his every move. Before we go into this review, we just want to say thank you to Real D for inviting us to the screening, and we got to see it on the special 3D screening. It was like a very high frame rate. It was quite an experience because it was a really big screen, and
it was a really big theater. It actually had like a balcony.
Yes, and it was at the Regal LA Live for anybody who needs context. And it was, I will say before we even get into the reviewing of the film, to see a movie in 3D in that high of a frame rate was a little bit shocking. It's very like unforgiving for the actors. In a good way, as in they really had to perform. Like you can't kind of like cheat and hide behind anything because they're close up on your face. There's a lot of beauty shots. So every single little muscle on your face really read in this movie. I haven't really seen a movie presented like that. I don't think ever. Because in 3D it was like that crystal clear. It was kind of like shocking and very different. So that was quite an experience, and I just wanted to say that up top.
I found it a little startling myself because they kind of went to the next level with 3D. But the big thing is, for a lot of people, 3D is still very jarring. It's still kind of weird to see something that has that extra dimension to it. But yet it's also it's photo crystal clear.
Yeah, it's really weird. It's like you're watching a movie, but it feels like you're watching like a TV show, but it also feels like you're there.
Yeah,
it's very hard to put into words, and that's why I keep saying like it's quite an experience. So for that, I feel like this movie, I feel like I heard or maybe read somewhere it was mentioned that it was filmed for 3D or was specifically made for 3D. And if that's the case, 3D movies, I don't feel like are meant to be seen at home, even if you have a 3D TV.
No, that's very true.
Especially for this one. Don't think it's going to do it justice at home if you got a 3D TV. I say if you're into like 3D, the technology, and you want to see some of these beauty shots play out, you go to the theater and you pop on your glasses and do it the right way. That's what I would say.
Because even if you have a 3D TV at home, you're not going to get the same experience. It's still going to be not as clear, not as crisp. It was very much, my mind just couldn't really take in. I'm like, no, that's real. No, it's not real. How is it? I really did expect to be able to kind of like reach through the window of the screen.
Now onto the review. So this movie is starring Will Smith, who plays a hitman. He just did a job, and he's basically about to say, "I'm done." He's getting a little bit older, and another hitman comes after him. He becomes a target. He doesn't know why. And you saw this in the trailer, so I think this is not a spoiler. And also, it's in the title: Gemini Man, Gemini, the twins. So the hitman, the younger hitman who is coming after him, is essentially a younger version of himself, a clone, if you will. So it's, for me, I love Will Smith in these action roles. He's always been really good at it. He can handle it, and to kind of see Will Smith fight Will Smith, younger Will Smith, is really interesting. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who I love, is also in this movie. I really liked her in this.
She was actually a really good character. I really liked the fact that she was in some of these really cool fights, and she was obviously a very good plus to the action. She was always there. She had some really good moments that I really enjoyed watching, to where it was a really good struggle in the fight, to where you can see her character, the way she fought, was very defined, and I really enjoyed watching her.
And I also really enjoy Benedict Wong in this movie, but then again, like, when do you not enjoy Benedict Wong? So he's just very warm. His character had a lot of warmth to it, and he's kind of, the three of them made up a team. So I think what everybody really wants to hear about is the cloning. Basically, the technology of, like, it's not even de-aging. We can't even call it that.
Yeah, but actually the remapping of Will Smith's face. Will Smith's face.
Say that 10 times fast.
So the first time they show the character, of course, helmet on, so you don't know who it is. But then they slowly remove parts. He had after the helmet, he actually had a hat and sunglasses, and then he loses the hat. Then he finally loses the sunglasses, and they actually do a really good job on still making it look like it's Will Smith's face.
Yes.
I think for most of this movie, the technology that they used for his face was insanely good. To where, for the longest time, it didn't. I wasn't what is it? When you saw the Star Wars movie with, I can't remember the name. Tarkin.
Yes.
In Rogue One.
Yeah.
A part of you was oh,
It didn't affect me that much, but I do remember hearing people complain about it, and I feel like it was a legit complaint that people had. It's kind of It's a little uncanny valley a little bit.
Yeah, but they did a really good job, I think, in doing it so it was believable. So we didn't have those moments of that startlement or that shock value at first where you were there's something not right here. For all of the action scenes, all of the moments that young Will Smith had, because there are some heavy acting moments.
Yeah, and with scenes of just the younger Will Smith character, and it's kind of after a while you kind of forget that it's a face mapping. It's it's like a de-aging almost kind of a thing on him, and I would say the technology has advanced a lot since. It's not perfect, and going back to what I was saying earlier, that because it was shown to us in a high frame rate, it's not forgiving, and I think that for me kind of went hand in hand with the de-aging and the remapping, the face mapping, because you could still kind of see. I think the hardest thing to get are the eyes.
Yes, that is probably the hardest thing to map and get right, especially in specific lighting. In some lighting in the movie, it was great. There will be in this moment in the third act, though, that where you kind of oh yeah, everything's good, and all of a sudden
you can just say it
you're like, whoa.
In a scene, they're outside. It's a daylight scene, so the technology doesn't play as well. It's not forgiving at all.
Yeah.
In daylight, but I want to give them props to
for
really trying it. Look, the fight scenes are very intense. They're really, really great. There's this bike scene where it's older Will Smith, Henry, the character, and the younger assassin. And it's just kind of the two of them going at it with the bikes, and it's very hardcore. It's really, really intense, and you really felt it, especially because everything was shot so close up, and everything was up close to the face that you really, really felt for these characters. Kind of
yeah, there were some brutal hits too.
Yeah, the story, it was fine. It was I slightly predictable.
Yes.
I would say slightly predictable. It was fine, but I kind of want to say some of the writing, some of the lines. If it wasn't for the actors, these are seasoned actors.
Yeah.
Don't think they would have been able to. Any other less experienced actors would have been able to pull it off.
Yeah, this movie would have actually fit pretty well with the late 80s, early 90s kind of action films, I think. The idea of your clone coming to get you, and back then it would have been the technology of just having two of the same person on screen as opposed to having you and a younger version of yourself. So that's where the story does get bumped up a notch. But it's still, a pretty stereotypical action movie kind of storyline.
Yeah, a lot of the dialogues, I was just kind of oof. There are certain choices for certain scenes in the story where I was like, why do this? So it's a very fun, entertaining movie, I would say. It's certainly not perfect, but if you're into the 3D and the technology, you kind of want to see Gemini Man and kind of the face mapping and the de-aging / face mapping for Will Smith.
Yeah.
Go ahead and go see this. I don't feel like I need to revisit the movie again, but I will say the cinematography, these beauty shots.
Yes.
Excellent. Some of the most beautiful I've ever seen, because it was. And to present it in a high frame rate, I was like, wow, okay, this is great. Do you have a rating for this movie?
Well, I kind of want to give it 2 ratings. One,
I was thinking the same thing. I swear we didn't talk about this beforehand.
If you're really into the 3D aspect of this, I would say go and matinate it in 3D. Try to get a cheap matinee, to be able to see it in 3D, because it is the next step in 3D technology. It is also the next step in face mapping technology. So it's beautiful in that aspect. If you don't really care about that, I would say rent it.
I have the same second rating as you. My first rating is, if you're kind of like if you're into, you want to see what it's like in 3D, I feel like you need to experience in theaters, and my rating for that would actually be a check it out, so it's slightly higher than yours. If you don't care about that, you just want to see it for what it is, and you're not into the big hoopla of like, the 3D and the technology and all that stuff, then I would say rent it. Well, you guys, that is our non-spoiler review for Gemini Man. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, do all the things that you do here on the YouTube, and we will see you in the next video. Bye!